All right, welcome to the second information session for the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Capacity Building Fund and Grant Application. My name is Brittany and I am the Administrative Coordinator for the Asian Pacific Institute on Gender-Based Violence, and I'm based in Warner Robins, Georgia. Before my colleagues begin their presentation, I want to briefly go over the Zoom webinar functions as you engage with us today. Although we are in webinar mode, we'd like to know who's joining us and how to address you. Please type how you'd like to appear in the webinar by selecting Rename. We invite you to include your pronouns as well. Example, she, her, he, him, they, them, and what organization you represent. This webinar will be recorded. If you would like to submit a question anonymously, please change your name to reflect that. You have the ability to message host and panelists through the chat, but we ask that you submit questions and comments through the question and answer function. All questions will be addressed after the presentation, except those questions directly related to the slide being presented at the time. And feel free to upvote the questions you want answered. ASL interpretation is available during this session, as well as live captioning. To view the captions, select Closed Caption button on the bottom of the navigation bar. All right, Sarah, let's get started.
Thank you, Brittany. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So excited to see some friendly faces and also, names, and also happy to see folks who are joining us today. So we wanted to give you a warm welcome on behalf of the Asian Pacific Institute on Gender-Based Violence. And quickly going to the agenda today. I guess we didn't do this part. Okay, yes, here we are. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the agenda. And the agenda for today is broken into 5 parts. We're going to talk about Asian Pacific Institute on Gender-Based Violence, API-GBV, as we are known as, and sometimes also just called the Institute. We're going to talk a little bit and answer questions that you may have about, we'll have an overview of the ARP Support for Survivors program. And then we'll talk about the Domestic Violence, Sexual Assault Capacity Building Fund and Grant Application. And then we'll obviously have a question and answer with our ARP Support for Survivors team. We're really excited about this team that we've put together. And we'll end with materials and links, key dates, post-events evaluation, etc. So a little bit about us. So the Asian Pacific Institute on Gender-Based Violence is a federally designated national resource center on domestic violence, sexual violence, trafficking, and other forms of gender-based violence within the Asian, Asian American, and Pacific Islander communities. We all know that the community is large, but we usually go by AAPI. We refer to the communities as AAPI, but that also includes folks from the Middle Eastern and North African regions. And our mission is to disrupt gender-based violence, which causes physical, sexual, emotional, spiritual, and economic harm within AAPI communities throughout the U.S. and the territories. And we work together with and within our communities to uplift the voices and experiences of the AAPI communities impacted by violence. And we love to build capacity through training and technical support for organizations that serve our communities and engage allied communities and systems to create shifts in gendered cultural norms and address injustices. We love to educate our communities and ourselves so that we all are mobilized to prevent further gender-based violence, and we advocate for policies and practices that ensure access to essential rights and services. So who we are, right? I mean, this is huge. We all know we literally half the world if we just want to go by Asian, by the continent. So we are Asian, like folks like me who migrated to the United States, and Asian Americans, the second gen, third gen, even fourth generation people. The Middle Eastern community, if They are on the continent of Asia. Some parts of the world they're called West Asia. If they so choose to identify, we also work with them. And then obviously there are all the territories, right? I mean, the Hawaii, and there's the indigenous communities from Hawaii, and then you have the Pacific Islands. And we are obviously not a monolith. Our histories, languages, cultures are all diverse, complex, distinct, and yet they often intersect. So for the sake of this presentation, we will often refer to our communities as AAPI and sometimes end up saying API. And then who is on our staff? So right now we are represented by Matapuna Levinson, who's our project manager, Monica Kant, our executive director, me, Jenny Lee, a director of finance, and Courtney Peters, who is brand new, but so good already at her work. I mean, she obviously had to be to be a part of our organization. And Brittany's picture is not here, but you all heard from Brittany already. So that's who we are. And then there's also our sexual assault partners, NEPSIV. And we're also working with a culturally specific consultant group called Reimagine Elective. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Puna.
Thank you, Sarah. Aloha kako, talofa lava. Good morning, everyone. My name is Matapuna, or Puna Levinson, and I'm located in Kahuku on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. I want to apologize in advance. I am sick and still recovering from illness, so my apologies for my voice, and hopefully I don't go into a coughing fit, so I will do my very best. But I do ask for your patience, and thank you all for being here and joining us today. It is my honor and my pleasure to talk about the ARP Support for Survivors program. So I'm going to get started because we have quite a bit of content today. We don't expect you to remember everything that is shared today. So we're going to provide access to view the recording of this webinar, as well as the slides. So the first slide that I want to start with are about acronyms. And the reason being is, for some of you, or several of you, you may have little experience with applying for federal grants, for example. So part of our job as a technical assistance provider is to support you in building your capacity and your skills to apply for future federal funding opportunities. So these are just examples of the different acronyms that are used by our federal funders and in different applications, grant opportunities. So you can quickly reference it and refer to it as you are researching and looking for more grants to apply to and preparing your proposals. So I am going to start with some key definitions that are relevant to who we are as API-GBV in administering these subgrants. So first, I want to talk about what a pass-through entity is. A pass-through entity means a non-federal entity that provides a subaward to a subrecipient to carry out part of a federal award. A subaward means an award provided by a pass-through entity to a subrecipient to carry out part of a federal award received by the pass-through entity. So it does not include payments to a contractor or payments to an individual that is a beneficiary of a federal program. A federal award is federal assistance, financial assistance, that a non-federal entity receives directly from a federal awarding agency or indirectly from a pass-through entity. And finally is a non-federal entity, which means a state, local government, Indian tribe, institution of higher education, or nonprofit organization that carries out a federal award as a recipient or subrecipient. So some background on our grant program. So on March 11th of 2021, President Biden signed into law the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. It's a $1.9 trillion economic stimulus bill that is designed to speed up America's recovery from the economic and health effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. With the passage of this bill, the Family Violence Prevention and Services Act, also known as FVPSA, program received a historic increase in supplemental funding for domestic violence shelters, supportive services, tribes, sexual assault programs, and culturally specific programs. So in support of sexual assault and domestic violence survivors, this funding provides a total of $49.5 million for the FIPSA program to support culturally specific services. So us as API-GBV, or the Institute, along with our colleagues across the DVR and our Domestic Violence Resource Network, is Alaska Native Women's Resource Center, Esperanza United, the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center, and Ujima. All of us will be using our expertise, our networks, and resources to provide technical assistance and support to local community-based culturally specific programs that serve survivors from our respective cultural communities. So as a result, API-GBV was awarded $13.2 million through FIPSA to distribute and manage this funding to community-based, culturally specific organizations that serve sexual assault and domestic violence survivors in Asian and Pacific Islander communities in the US. The ARP Support for Survivors of Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault from Culturally Specific Populations Grant Program, also known as the ARP Support for Survivors Program, aims to prevent, prepare, and respond to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in our communities while providing support to all of you, the organizations who serve victims and survivors dealing with the immediate and ongoing impacts of the pandemic. So working in partnership, as Sarah had mentioned, with the Sexual Assault Training and Technical Assistance Provider, NAPASEV, or the National Organization of Asians and Pacific Islanders Ending Sexual Violence, our collective goal is to support culturally specific, community-based organizations in providing culturally specific activities that, one, address emergent needs resulting from the COVID-19 public health emergency, and two, to promote strategic partnership development and collaboration in responding to the COVID-19 public health emergency on survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence. So about our Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, or DVSA, Capacity Building Fund. So these subgrants or awards are up to $300,000 over a 2-year period per subaward. And this 2-year project period will be from March 2023 through February 2025. And we will provide subawards up to 40, which will be distributed equitably 50-50 between domestic violence and sexual assault programs, or as we lovingly refer to, our ARP partners. And the purpose of this fund is to support the provision of services developed by culturally specific, community-based DVSA programs, implementing culturally relevant and linguistically appropriate programs, services, and supports for individuals and families from Asian, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, and Middle Eastern communities in the United States and US territories. So I'm now going to go over the eligibility criteria, which I'm sure many of you are curious and interested in. And it's pretty straightforward, but we're going to break down even further definitions that are part of our eligibility criteria. So there's three main criteria, and we're going to first start with one, which is nonprofit status. So nonprofits having a 501c3 status with the IRS, or nonprofits that do not have a 501c3 status with the IRS, but are fiscally sponsored by a nonprofit that does. Second is to be culturally specific. So as an organization, your primary purpose is providing culturally specific services to underserved communities residing in the continental United States, Hawaii, and US territories. So to break down even further, culturally specific services means community-based services that include culturally relevant and linguistically specific services and resources to culturally specific communities. And our communities that we are talking and convening here today is Asian, Asian American, Pacific Islander, Native Hawaiian, and Middle Eastern communities, residing on the continental US, in Hawaii, and the US territories. Culturally specific means primarily directed toward racial and ethnic minority groups. Underserved populations or underserved communities, or people who have been historically underserved, means populations who face barriers in accessing and using victim services, and includes populations underserved because of geographic location, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, underserved racial and ethnic populations, and populations underserved because of special needs. And this can include language barriers, disabilities, immigration status, and age. Individuals with criminal histories due to victimization and individuals with substance use disorders and mental health issues are also included in this definition. Now, the third is, as an organization and as an applicant, you must have a demonstrated ability in providing supportive services. So supportive services is defined as services for adult and youth victims of family violence, domestic violence, dating violence, and sexual assault and their dependents that are designed to meet the needs of such victims and their dependents for short-term, transitional, or long-term safety and recovery. So when we say demonstrated ability, as an organization, some of the questions you can think about articulating what your demonstrated ability in providing supportive services is how long you have been doing this work with your community, right, with your cultural specific community. It could be the extent of the types of programming and services that you have had within that time frame, and certainly the qualifications, the training, the competencies that the staff who implement these services have. Supportive services include, but are not limited to, direct and/or referral-based advocacy on behalf of victims and their dependents, counseling, case management, employment services, referrals, transportation services, legal advocacy or assistance, childcare services, behavioral health and preventive health services, culturally and linguistically appropriate services, and other services that assist victims or their dependents in recovering from the effects of violence. But we do want to emphasize that through this funding, direct cash payments to survivors are not permitted. So now we're going to talk about what the requirements as an ARP partner will be under this funding, and also what you can expect from your participation in the program and as you implement the funds with your project throughout the project period. ARP partners are required to collect and maintain data that measures the performance and effectiveness of work under this subaward, which includes monthly financial reimbursement requests, semi-annual performance progress reports, travel and conference requests, and other data as requested. So all reporting and requests must be submitted through Coalition Manager, which is the designated grants management platform for the ARP Support for Survivors program. It is also the primary application portal that all of you will be using to submit your applications to us. ARP partners are required to use Coalition Manager throughout the project period and must participate, and we will provide online training in its utilization within the first month of the project, including any staff that will be responsible for reporting. ARP partners will also be required to participate in at least one program support visit with us as API-GBV program staff. And we will absolutely take requests for virtual visits as well, and will be determined on a case-by-case basis. We do ask that you participate in any surveys or interviews as part of API-GBV's overall program evaluation, and any other visits, meetings, convenings, and trainings as deemed necessary, not just by us, but also by you, you as our ARP partner organization. As national culturally specific resource centers on domestic violence and sexual assault, API-GBV and NAPASIV staff will be available to ARP partner organizations throughout the project period. So as an ARP partner, you will be provided one-on-one specialized technical assistance, access to online training and educational resources, peer support with other ARP partner organizations in the program, and the opportunity for all ARP partner organizations, API-GBV, and NAPRSEV staff to convene at least once in person, hopefully, if public health regulations permit during the project period, and any other guidance on reporting, evaluation, special topics, and more. So now I'm going to go over the scope of projects that we are looking for under this program and funding. API-GBV and NAPRSEV will select community-based, culturally specific programs that are responsive to the needs of Asian, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, and Middle Eastern survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault and their dependents. So to reiterate what culturally specific services means, these are community-based services that include culturally relevant and linguistically specific services and resources to our AAPI cultural specific communities. We encourage community-based innovative approaches or strategies to address family violence, domestic violence, and dating violence in our AAPI communities that would ultimately lead to short-term, transitional, and/or long-term safety and recovery for adult and youth victims. Projects where culturally specific DV and SA programs are transitioning to virtual services or planning to continue virtual services. Projects focused on the development, implementation, and assessment of innovative virtual services that optimize the use of virtual services to increase access to culturally specific services for AAPI survivors and can be adapted and scaled across local community or service areas. Projects that meet emergent and culturally specific services needs of survivors from AAPI communities who are impacted by the COVID-19 public health emergency. So we have it framed in three ways. First is to prevent. So these would be activities that assist survivors by providing virtual services, supportive services, temporary housing assistance, mobile advocacy services, and supplies that reduce the exposure to and risk of contracting COVID-19. It also includes prepare. So these are activities and technical assistance that include assessing the needs of survivors from AAPI communities during COVID-19 public health emergency, and activities that provide training, information, and assistance necessary to ensure the continuity of culturally specific services. And finally, respond. And these are activities and technical assistance for ensuring the continuity of culturally specific services, which includes responding to issues such as adapting to fluctuating needs and changing circumstances. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So projects that support workforce-related expansions and supports for culturally specific DVSA services, COVID-19 mitigation activities, implementation of mobile advocacy services, or virtual or remote services implementation. We know that in addition to supporting survivors from our AAPI communities and the impacts that COVID-19 has and continues to have, we know it's the same for our organizations. Many of you who are with us today, we want to support you in this recovery. So this can include planning for implementation, training and hiring providers and staff, any expenses to secure and maintain adequate personnel. So these expenses can include hiring bonuses and retention payments, childcare, transportation subsidies, and other fringe or personal benefits as authorized by HHS regulations. So for examples of allowable costs under this grant fund, I've already gone over several examples, but we will provide an FAQ, technical assistance guidance, that you can reference frequently, which will be available on our website. So again, some examples just to get your mind flowing as you prepare to submit your application or prepare your proposal. Examples can include advocacy, case management services, information and referral services. So assistance in accessing federal and state financial assistance programs, legal advocacy to assist survivors, medical advocacy, assistance locating and securing safe and affordable permanent housing and homelessness prevention, providing transportation, childcare, respite care, job training and employment services, financial literacy services, financial planning, and any other related economic empowerment services, providing parenting and other educational services for victims and their dependents. So now we're going to go over the application elements. So the application is divided in 6 sections. The first is the organizational profile and capacity. This includes organization name, contact person, contact information, verification of your nonprofit status or fiscal sponsorship, the background of your community organization, which can include mission and core value statements, and the history of service and support rendered to your community, your history of working with survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault, a description of the culturally specific community that you serve, and a description of any past federal grant or subaward management experience that you may have. Section 2 is the need for the project. So information about how domestic violence and sexual assault has impacted individuals or groups in the culturally specific AAPI community that you serve, a description of any history of collaboration with organizations in the community, and your relationship with the AAPI community and organizations generally. Section 3 is the project proposal. So that includes a project work plan, which details your goals and objectives under this funding, a description of project activities, and a list of key staff, including any potential partners, if applicable, who will work with you on the project. We will provide a template that you can use, or you can use a work plan that you've used in your organization, just so you know that that resource is available through the online application. The other part is the potential impact of the project. So how will the project support survivors and their dependents in the community that you serve or your organization serves, and how the project will strengthen response efforts in the community that you serve, and a description of the individuals or groups that the proposed project will focus on, such as cultural or ethnic specific populations, adults, youth, people with disabilities, LGBTQ. And finally, what aspects of the project demonstrate innovation or creativity in things like program development and implementation, even evaluation. Section 4 will be about the project budget. So we are asking that you submit a project budget and budget justification that demonstrates the total amount that you as an applicant need to accomplish the goals of the proposed project. So the budget justification consists of a budget narrative and line item budget detail that includes detailed calculation for class categories provided in the budget template that you will have access to in the online application. So subawards under this program will be up to $300,000 in total costs. You, as the applicant, are to determine the amount to be requested based on your proposed projects. So we encourage you, if you are able to and interested, to apply for the full $300,000 amount if that is your preference. This subaward does not require matching or cost sharing. And ARP partner organizations or subrecipients are allowed to charge indirect costs, such as administrative costs, by using your approved negotiated indirect cost rate, if you have it, or the de minimis rate of 10% of modified total direct costs. Okay, so now we are moving on to section 5, which is the letter of support. So we are asking that you submit at least 1 letter for a max of 3 letters from a community leader, other community-based organization, or even a community member who can speak to your organization's impact, reputation, and presence in the community that you serve. And section 6 is actually an optional video that we welcome you to submit a video that is a max of 10 minutes. And you can provide more information if you like, or dive a little bit deeper into some of the narrative sections that you've gone through already in the application. We're interested in just learning more and hearing and seeing from you about your work, about your values, about your culture, and the proposed project that you are submitting an application for. So this is just a little helpful checklist that we wanted to provide for you so you can prepare, which must be uploaded again through Coalition Manager. And you will see in each section of the online application these attachments. So this includes your 501c3 determination letter or the letter from your fiscal sponsor with 501c3 status, your project work plan, job descriptions and resumes for each key staff who will be on the project, your project budget and narrative, your letter or letters of support, and your optional video file or link. So now we are going to go into how you actually apply utilizing Coalition Manager. So applicants must submit a proposal addressing the elements of the application by Friday, December 23rd, 2022 at 11:59 p.m. and that's Pacific Standard Time through Coalition Manager. To submit the proposal, you must first create a new user account through Coalition Manager, and we will provide the links for you. The second is to complete the required fields in the online application. And then finally, as I mentioned, is to make sure that you upload all the required attachments to Coalition Manager. So bear with me as I now attempt to do a live demonstration so you can see exactly what it looks like, the process of creating a new user account through Coalition Manager and accessing the online form. Okay. So what you want to do is when you follow the link that we will provide for you, it will bring you to this page to join Coalition Manager and create a new user account. So in the contact information fields, you want to select grant applicant. You're going to want to put your name of your organization, you as the representative of your organization, the main contact person, and your email. Sure you check the captcha box, send. And then you should see this page, which confirms your registration and will let you know that you will receive an email. But what you will receive is actually 2 emails. One that lets you know that your request to access Coalition Manager has been approved. And the second, which is the most important, is your validation email. And this is what you need to select once you open it. You're going to click on validate email address and create a password, which will automatically pop up this page where you are going to put in your password that you're going to use every time you access Coalition Manager to review, edit, and submit your online application. So you should be able to come to this welcome page where, again, you're going to put in your login or user information, which is your email and your password. I'm surprised I'm inputting. Oh, yeah, there you go. Yep, it's not too fast. Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's make sure. You would think I would. Okay. That's why, because I didn't spell applicant correct. So now I'll bring you to this welcome page. This is the welcome page for the online application of our DVSA Capacity Building Fund. So it provides you more information. We also provide you the link to the request for proposals announcement, which you'll always want to have that up So you can quickly reference it as you submit or complete the fields in each section of the online application. So to get started, you're going to want to submit grant application, which will open another window. And it'll take you to the first page or the welcome and instruction page of the online application. So the instructions in submitting a proposal through this online application are pretty straightforward. So we really encourage you, like I am right now, use a desktop or laptop computer when you're completing this and submitting your application. Again, there are 6 sections in the application, and you must complete all the required fields that have a red asterisk next to it. Give yourself some time. Give yourself some time to complete the application. If you're working together as a team to do it, give yourself some time, because we estimate about up to 3 hours to complete the full application in its entirety. So as you're moving to the next page, you need to click Save and Next, which you see in this blue button right here, on each page to save your progress. And if you need to save and return to the application, you select Submit Later, which I'm going to move on to in the next page. You have to click it before closing the application. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So this is an example of what you can anticipate seeing in section 1, right? I'm just going to go through. And if you want to save your progress and return to your application later, first you want to bookmark this dashboard, this website for Coalition Manager, and then select Submit Later, and then you can come back to it. All you need to do is select Current Forms, and it'll bring you to the DBSA Capacity Building Fund application. So once you get to the end, right, you're going through all these different sections, keep pressing Save and Next. You can see, for example, where you can get access to our project budget template, upload the file, keep pressing Save and Next, upload your letters of support. You can put in the link or upload the video file for your optional video. And this is the important step that you need to complete before you submit. So there's 2 parts to certification of your application. It is typing your name as a representative of your organization, and then tracing your initials here, saving, next. So after you've completed all the required fields, after you've done a thorough review, whether it's yourself or some of your colleagues have gone through and made sure that your proposal through this online application is ready to submit, you should come to this final page of the online application and select Submit. You have to select Submit in order for it to be sent and notified or alerted to us as the ARP Support program team. Another just kind of little tip and a heads up. So any of the narrative sections of this online application that you see, the field is about 2,000 characters in length. So that includes spaces, and we estimate between 300 to 500 words per narrative section. So just so you know, always save often. You can come back to it as often as you like. You can edit it as often as you like, as long as you submit it by the deadline, which is December 23rd. Okay. So I'm now going to switch back. And I'm relieved that it went through. And please know that we are here and available to support you in creating a user account and accessing the online application and throughout the application process. So you may be curious, you likely are curious about what the review of applications are going to be. So the review of applications will be conducted in 3 stages. First, to establish eligibility, which will be done by us, the ARP Support for Survivors team. The second will be committee review, which is internal and external reviewers. And the process itself will be facilitated by our consultants, Reimagine Collective. And third will be the final selection of ARP partner subrecipients. And that will be done by us as the team and also our review committee. The application review period will take place from January 16th through the 27th of 2023. The review committee will be composed of 5 external, which are non-staff or board members, external reviewers who will each be partnered with 5 internal API-GBV staff and board members. So external reviewers were recruited through API-GBV's network and relationships across Asian Pacific Islander communities and community-based organizations. So external reviewers were actually selected based on these criteria, such as their subject matter expertise, whether in DBSA, cultural specific services, research and evaluation, also with their experience in working with AAPI communities and in reviewing grant applications. We also selected reviewers based on their understanding of the needs of grassroots organizations and small nonprofits with little to no experience with federal funding, and who could also bring an equity lens, because our AA and HPI Middle Eastern communities, we have a vast and large community, and we want to ensure that everyone has equal access and that these funds are distributed equitably. And with the acknowledgement that participation as an external reviewer with us precludes them as the reviewer or organizations that they're affiliated with, but from applying for a grant. Scoring will be based on sections 1 through 3 of the application. So organizational capacity, which will be 40 points, the need for the project, 10 points, and the project proposal, which is 50 points for a total of 100. The committee will review and assess applications for your capacity to implement the project, the need, the potential impact, whether the proposed budget aligns with the proposed project activities, and the qualifications and experiences of key individuals who will work on the project. No one will be disqualified for a minor error, and we are here to support you, to help you as you prepare to submit your application. Applicants will be notified of the status of your application by February 3rd, 2023. So I'm now going to ask my colleagues on the ARP Support for Survivors team to come on camera and to join us. I know you have questions, and my apologies, I haven't had a chance to look at the chat to see what has been asked or commented on. So we are ready now, because I'm sure many of you have questions, to share them with us. So I'm going to pass it to Courtney to get that started.
Thanks so much, Puna. So I want to thank all of you who have been sending in your questions during the presentation, and thanks to Puna for this amazing information. So a few of them have already been answered live in the Q&A box, so you can go ahead and have a look at those. Some of you might have had the same questions. So we had one about applying as a collaborative entity. So if you're an organization and you want to apply with other organizations, and so I went ahead and put the answer there. You will need to designate a lead organization to apply. And something I also want to reiterate is that you cannot further sub-award. So if you're a sub-awardee or a sub-grantee on this funding, you cannot then sub-award to other organizations. And so if you are wanting to collaborate, we can talk about how to make that work and what that'll look like as far as financial compliance. All right, and then again, another question here that we went ahead and answered, and these two were kind of similar. It was essentially, with this funding, is it just for direct services? Does it also cover preventive efforts, outreach? What about trying to get to survivors to connect them to these direct services? And so we want to be clear that this is not just limited to direct services. Ultimately, as long as we're reaching the goal of the funding, which is to obviously improve the lives of survivors and connect them to the care that they need, that is something that we could consider as an activity under this funding. So if you have a question, if you're filling out your application and you're like, I don't know if this activity makes sense, go ahead and reach out to us and we can talk you through that and see if it's something that would be allowable. So I'm gonna, let's see, this one just popped up on my screen. And I'm going to go ahead and pump this to someone in the group so you guys don't have to listen to just my voice. Another new question that just came in: would work around anti-Asian violence during the pandemic be considered for this grant? So I'll open that up to whoever wants to answer that.
I can chime in. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Monica Kant, and I'm the Executive Director of API-GBV. I just wanted to quickly introduce myself and thank you all for being with us today. We really appreciate the time that you've taken out of your day to figure out a little bit more about this funding, which is really such a great opportunity for our community. And so with that, we know that many organizations, especially local organizations, not just work only on gender-based violence issues. I think if you're serving the community, you might be that one-stop shop, for the AAPI community, and you might be working on different aspects such as anti-AAPI hate. However, this funding is for DV and SA, and to grow the capacity of either, of those two programs. And so if you can show the intersectionality, which it is happening, and you can also talk about, the growth in the SA and the DV piece, that is what this funding is for.
Awesome. Thanks, Monica. And just to reiterate what Monica said, if you have any questions about any of your activities and you're not clear on whether that fits into what these grants are intended for, just let us know, reach out to us, and we can work with you on that. All right, so another question here is, could you discuss the COVID-19 impact criteria? Do we need to prove or illustrate how COVID impacted participants?
That's a great question. I think the purpose and intent really was you as a cultural specific community-based organization who are working directly with survivors and their dependents. You are the folks who are on the ground, who are watching and seeing, and people are coming to you throughout the pandemic. And you are witnessing in essence what that impact is because of the types of requests for services and helps that they are asking. Articulating how domestic violence and sexual assault has impacted your community, your service community, is part of the application process. It would be in narrative form, right, in the outline application field. We would appreciate and we would love to see it, because this is ARP funds, and we certainly would like to highlight that throughout the project period on ways that we can support each other and lessons learned. Because I think that's ultimately, you are doing the work already as it is. So we feel very fortunate and lucky to be associated with you and to support you through this process in implementing these ARP specific funds, to teach us as well about what is happening, what you have seen. Many of you and many of us are familiar with the incredible organizing from our Asian and Pacific Island communities across the US and territories, who have advocated around uplifting the issues and the disparate impacts of COVID on our communities. We've been doing it, right? So we appreciate that articulation in the narrative. It certainly would bode well and look great because it resonates with the purpose and the intent of these funds as a whole. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, so we have another one that just came in on the topic of workforce expansion. Are funds restricted to personnel benefits only, or does salary and wage count? So I can answer that one pretty easily. You can include the salaries of your staff in here and consultants as well. So, don't hesitate to put that in your budget. And if you have any questions about how to do that or how to calculate that, we're here for you. All right. And let's see here. Great question, Mark. So Mark asked, he was just a little unclear about the limit of no regranting. Does that mean there's no means to allocate and provide dollars for collaborative partners? Or if there is a means, what is it? I'm going to pump that one to you, Jenny. I think that is a good question.
So for the collaborative partners, I think if, look to see if they would qualify as a consultant or contractor, right? And then you could put that in your budget, saying that you're going to pay X dollar amount to this consultant to do work for you. For re-granting, like Courtney said earlier, you can't re-grant it since you are already our sub-awardee. You cannot say, okay, I'm going to award organization B to take care of this part of the project that we're doing. So that's the whole re-granting, or you can't re-grant, but you can still collaborate as long as they fall under like a contractor or consultant type work.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny. So if there is someone that you want to work with who is a consultant or a contractor, you know, and you're not sure, just let us know and we can talk you through it. So really the limit here is just you cannot issue another grant to someone under your sub-award funding. So that's clear. How about equipment purchasing and other capital costs that go towards helping implement these programs? Jenny, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so if it comes down to equipment and capital costs, do review your policy and see what your threshold is to determine if it's going to be capitalized or not. If it's something that can be expensed, build it into your budget that way. There is, you know, FIPSA is pretty flexible with how you can utilize this money. But if you do and we see it on your budget, we'll, you know, I'll reach out or Courtney will reach out, but, you know, we'll be in contact if there's any questions that we may have. But FIPSA doesn't have any limitations to that.
And if I could add just a little bit of context, being, you know, an ED of a local organization and, you know, trying to build my budget around, you know, programming and what's needed, I would definitely connect like what you need with the program and how you need it to grow. So for example, if you need iPads because you need them to do intakes for your clients and it's easier through an iPad, I would build that in that way. So if it's, you know, technology, if it's, you know, equipment that supports the services that you provide, then that is much easier to connect and, you know, have the budget respond to those needs.
Fantastic. So this is a good question and clarifying question. I may have missed it. Could you reply live to Tiffany's question about culturally specific programming within a larger organization? So the question was, we're a culturally specific program within the context of a broader organization. How do they approach this application process? Are they eligible?
I can grab that one. Or Puna, were you going to grab it?
I can start if you want to chime in as well. It's a great question. And just so you know that we are not the only organizations that are providing ARP funds. So ARP funds for mainstream domestic violence and sexual assault service providers can be accessed through your state or territory coalition. They are the folks that are administering those funds as well. But we would love to have a conversation with you, so we can determine the demographics and representation of AAPI communities in your service area. Yeah, that's just kind of my initial thoughts. Monica, you want to share as well?
That's exactly right. You know, FIPSA awarded 3 culturally specific organizations, us, Esperanza United, and Ujima, who all have their own application process, but similar application process in order to, you know, pass through this funding for both DV and SA organizations. Our partner, as Puna said, is NAPASEV. And so we are mainly here for the, well, not mainly, we are completely here for the AAPI community. And so you would want to show, you know, the connection to the AAPI community and the services you have. And, you know, if you're an immigrant organization serving all populations, how much of that is AAPI, how you want that to grow. The one thing probably that, you know, would not work is if you are a mainstream organization and trying to, you know, you may have those few clients, but, and the reason why I say that is because this is for culturally specific organizations. That was explicitly stated to us when this funding was determined a year ago.
All right. One more question here from Nita. How about capital improvements in shelters to improve common areas for safety and health? So I can go ahead and answer that one. Capital improvements are usually not permissible under this type of funding, Nita. It's something that you would have to get permission beforehand. And so if that's something that is going to be a focal point of your project, I would be very upfront about that and we would discuss it. Generally, construction costs are not included in these types of federal awards. but we can talk about it and figure out what that might look like. But it's something that we would have to get permission from FIPSA for in advance. All right, and then we have another question here. Can we include training for all of our staff, not just the ones that are on the grants? Puna, do you want to answer that one?
Yes, absolutely, because that would fall under workforce capacity. So absolutely, the staff themselves who are receiving the training do not necessarily have to be the exact budgeted position, right, that you created. We want you to support your organization as a whole and really encourage staff training and skills development, right? Because they likely have been experiencing all the different impacts and a lot of new challenges of life throughout the pandemic, post-pandemic. So one example in particular is about virtual or remote service provision. That would be something important that all staff need to understand and recognize in terms of confidentiality, the comfort level of folks in utilizing different online applications and digital services. Another example that has come up in recent years is about reproductive health and justice, so access for survivors of DBSA to reproductive health services. That can certainly be something that maybe as an organization, not everyone in the organization was familiar or aware of the issue or what resources are available to survivors with those needs. So thanks for that question.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Puna. And ultimately, these grants are capacity building grants, capacity strengthening grants. And so that's what we want them to be used for. So as long as folks are benefiting and can better serve survivors, that's our goal here. All right. So I think that question from Darlene was the last one, unless anyone has any other questions, and we're right at the hour. So I'm going to hand it back over to you, Puna.
Great, thank you. So I'm gonna go back to the presentation again, just so that we can leave with you some final resources. So again, as a reminder, you will have access to these slides, which includes these materials and links, important links that we want you to have to reference. One event that is coming up, so I'm going to go to the next section about key dates. The next session that we're actually excited to provide is a grant writing 101 webinar, which will take place this month in a couple weeks, on November 30th at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So our consultants through Reimagine Collective, who have years and years of experience in nonprofit work and grant writing, will provide all of you with a grant writing 101. So this certainly is to support you as you prepare to submit your application to us, but we want to provide you opportunities and set you up for success for future funding applications, not just through API-GBV. So that will be available. So other key dates, again, the application is due on December 23rd, 2022, this year at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The review of applications by our review committee will take place January 16th through the 27th of 2023. And applicants will be notified of the status of their application by February 3rd, 2023. Please, please, please reach out to us. We are here to help you. We want you, and we want to get this funding out to as many of our awesome culture-specific organizations serving survivors from API communities. The main contact that we will receive any questions or requests, anything. There is no silly question. We want to hear from you and we want to support you. And that will be done through ARP Support at API-GBV.org, API-GBV.org. For any updates and questions about the program, visit our website at api-gbv.org/ARP Support. And if you haven't already, which I would be surprised because you made it here to our info session, but we do encourage you to sign up for our listserv on our website so you can receive the most current and up-to-date information, not only about the ARP Support for Survivors program, but about other cool things that are happening with the Institute. Your feedback is really important to us. We want to ensure that everything that we share and we provide is meaningful and relevant to the work that you are doing. And we want to get your comments and your feedback. So please complete the post-event evaluation, and we'll put that link in the chat as well. And with that being said, thank you everyone for being here. We hope this was helpful. We're excited to receive your applications, and we're here to assist you every step of the way. Okay?